Welcome to We Hear Her. I am Erin Trenbeth Murray.
And I am Jennifer Bean.
We're here today with another amazing woman who's sharing her story and insights to lessons learned.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I am Gina Alfred, and I am sitting here with Bev Uipi, the City Council of Millcreek. Yes, and today we will be talking about new beginnings and looking towards the future. Hi, Bev. Welcome.
Hi, Gina. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for taking time out of your day to be here with us today. So, new beginnings. Unpack that for me. What is new beginnings like for you?
Well, I think I can talk about this now because I feel like I am unpacking yet another new beginning. Growing up, no one ever raises their hand and says, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to be a single mom."
Yeah.
Says no one ever. And then you kind of fall into different paths where challenges, kind of come your way. Some are self-inflicted and others are chosen for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am now in a kind of a new beginning. I'm about a year and a half into this new beginning where, God does things for you.
Yeah.
And when you aren't paying attention to signs, a lot of times he says, and you will stop now.
Yeah.
Because of this new beginning, I've had to redirect my career.
Okay.
Now, although I am City Council for Millcreek,
Mm-hmm.
I'm running my second reelection this year. So November 2nd is my end date, I think, or end goal, the finish line that I'm looking for.
Okay.
Win, lose, or draw, I'm going to be a better person for it. I will come out authentically. But my career path before that, I'd gotten my master's in public administration from the U, got my undergrad degrees from the University of Georgia, played volleyball there, so I've always had this, I guess maybe high achieving pathway. And last year I was the deputy director. I'd finished off as the deputy director for the Board of Pardons and Parole.
Oh, wow.
And again, things happen for you.
Yeah.
I'm no longer there. But I have had to reinvent. I think everyone kind of went through this mental help, not realizing that it's a real thing, in 2020.
Yeah.
So for me, 2020 was, I need to restore.
Mm-hmm.
I need to reinvent. I need to reassure myself.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot of re's
Yeah.
in coming up with what today looks like. And I will tell you, I'm on a path that is bringing me more joy. I can tell you, I don't know that I've necessarily had that my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I've done the things that I was supposed to do by my parents' expectations, by society's expectations. And being a woman of color,
Mm-hmm.
When you have those spaces, it's extremely, there's a lot of pressure that comes with it.
Absolutely.
Without realizing it sometimes. It's just kind of like, this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we have to do.
Yeah.
We're the only ones there at the table who give
Right.
the space for some of these conversations.
Right.
So knowing that I didn't necessarily want to manage people, I wanted a break from that. I wanted to take a time out for me. I found that I started doing some consulting on my own, doing a little bit of paralegal work in my dad's practice. So adoptions, divorces, which kept us quite busy in 2020, and immigration issues. So a lot of issues that affect people of color, but a lot of people whose lives were drastically affected by 2020. So I got to know people kind of back to where I would say the square root of wanting to help people. I got to see pain from a different perspective. And being able to see other people's pain was great perspective for me to realize my pain isn't that bad. I found that my pain came a lot more from disappointing others, right? Worrying about what other people think. And I don't think that I realized how much I cared about what other people thought until 2020. And it is, so now we're in a new beginnings. I'm going to just share that this is a good time out for me. But I have changed careers completely because, we'll make lists. I'm a list person.
Okay.
So making a list of what I'm missing in my life. And I knew I was missing joy and I was missing fun. Leadership is, I wouldn't say easy for me, but I have experience in it. And in it, there isn't a whole lot of fun all the time. It's not, ice cream, having ice cream, going out to the park. There are rewards. There are definitely rewards in leadership. But there's a lot of hard work that is put into it. And I wanted a time out. In a sense, I feel that serving my community, I lived there. I grew up there. I was part of the first city council to start the city.
Wow.
To have some continuity and not to lose a place for a woman of color.
Yeah.
Being the first Pacific Islander female elected in Utah in 2016. We're 2021 now.
Yeah.
That's a long time for it to be a position that women of color, can really take and embrace. Yeah. And in Millcreek, in a very not as diverse and affluent area. Our mayor will always tell you that I probably have the most affluent and the most Caucasian demographic in the city. And I always thought that being a single mom, being minority, was going to be why people wouldn't vote for me. So going back to the fact that service, servant leadership is very different from leadership.
Absolutely.
Leadership being paid for, whereas I can actually stand in, I guess, and being Christian, I believe that God has given me so many tools that I can continue to use in service to my community. So, yes, I'm still at the table for that, but on my career, the money-making side, I wouldn't say it's money-making.
Yeah.
But get this, I decided to go work for an airline.
Okay.
Because one, I want fun. I don't have a husband.
Yeah.
My son is in California.
And buddy passes, standby tickets, okay.
Yeah, right. So you're saying you want one?
Right.
Is that
I'm just saying. No.
But a lot of it comes down to, once you've made money and you're comfortable and you see a life of comfort, you also see a life of sacrifice and the things you've sacrificed along the way.
Yeah.
And I'll share a little bit of the transition, and I might get a little teary-eyed.
That's okay.
So, in I'll just say about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I had a tough decision, and that was to transition my son to my brother in California when he was 14.
Okay.
And to do that, to have my family kind of like he's not succeeding here at home, where the only male role model was my dad. So he's never going to disappoint my dad, but not one that's firm or stern.
Yeah.
And so we made a family decision to transition him to California, which is where he's been going to high school.
Okay.
So we were talking out in the lobby. I just got back from visiting him. Friday Night Lights, that was important to me. I haven't missed a game in 18 years until going through flight school, which to me was a sacrifice to being able to see him anytime and have him be able to come home. So when he left, he was, without having his permission, talking about his life and his story, because he will be an adult next month and hoping he'd take on some of the bills, but that's okay. He's a senior this year at Orange Lutheran High School. One of the biggest successes for me is that he found a relationship with God, which he couldn't quite do here. I have my faults in that as well. But he also, he also went from potentially not being eligible to play in any of the sports to now a 3.2.
Wow.
So, and to see him have confidence and the confidence that he's had to navigate by finding his own independence without me, is a bittersweet picture, right?
Yeah.
Like, dang it, son, why couldn't you do it here with me?
But I think the interesting thing is in you experiencing your own new beginnings, your new beginnings opened up a door for your son to have new beginnings of his own. And so I am a single mom. I've been where you are as far as having to send my daughter to live with her grandparents in the Virgin Islands. And she was about 11 when this happened. And so that was the hardest thing for me to do, but it was the best thing to do. And she was born in Ogden, Utah, but according to her, she's a St. Tommy into the heart.
Right.
But those new beginnings that when we as women, especially as a single mom, when you're transitioning through something, we don't take the time to actually think how those new beginnings that we have to go through or make, how they impact those that are around us or that we even have the responsibility of caring for.
Absolutely.
And so your son, you said, is coming into his own and he was finding things. So as you were here in Salt Lake having your new beginnings, he's in LA, Orange County, having new beginnings of his own.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that too. It's also nice to connect to with, I mean, you know, single moms are a lot more common than not.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's always nice, like we have a commonality, we can share. But, you know, in these new beginnings, part of it is I want to travel. I have no idea how I was going to pay for my son's private school tuition where he's at. You know, city council is not the moneymaker. And if anyone knows, it's probably right at the poverty level of income, right? If that's my only income. But being able to, and it's so funny, I just kept thinking, gosh, you know, if I could just find someone who works for the airlines, you know, obviously that didn't work out, but what it was in the airline I wanted to do, and someone had mentioned, you're so good with people. And that is one thing I do not want to do in my life is work in a career where I have no interactions with people. I feel like I grow more from other people's experiences, just like we're having here. And so, yeah, it's a new beginning. It's not one I would have ever put myself in. In fact, I've got some family members, of course, within the family, when you're the, you know, the one they put on the pedestal and the one they want to see succeed and grow, to tell them you have a master's degree and that you are living your best life, doing what you want to do, it just doesn't fit their narrative. It's extremely, it's eye-opening. But for the first time, I don't care what they think. What other people think is none of my business. You know, it is really none of my business. I do my best. I come into situations, into service with as much integrity as I can. There's no ill intent to do anything bad. And for once, after 45 years, you know, I'm actually doing what I want to do. And it might be a short stint. I might come back into the public administration realm, or there could be opportunities with SkyWest. And so, you know, I'm grateful to obviously a whole nother organization for giving me the opportunity after such a kind of a life-changing career change, you know, in my life. And I'm grateful for it. I honestly, I always knew looking back that I will be grateful for these challenges. I will be, but going through it, I just keep asking myself, do I always have to ask for this much chaos? Like when it happens? And a year and a half later, you know, I think is a lot sooner than when I became a single mom. You know, that was hard to navigate, but I feel like each challenge, each new beginning is built upon the strength that we have found in ourselves, our own voice, our own inner power in coming through really difficult times. And so, you know, maybe one day my son will see this. He thinks it's like he's too cool to you know, he's at that age where he's too cool for mom. But I hope, you know, I hope one day, you know, some of the new beginnings that I've had to go through, I hope he sees me living my best life as something that he can do. And not living for my expectations, not living for grandpa's expectations or his teammates' expectations. You know, be a team player, but do your best. And really, whatever you do it 100%, you know, and find joy. Don't wait till you're 45 to find joy in life. And
but you appreciate it more though.
Okay.
When you've had to wait for it for so long.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you stated November is when a re-election comes forward, and you are going to give it another go.
Yes.
So what things are you looking forward to in the future?
Wow. Okay. Because I was just like, okay, I got to get to November.
And that can be whether it's in your career or just family or just Bev, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Well, obviously, travel is in my future. I've had a bucket list of so many things that I've wanted to do and go see. My best friend growing up, my best friend cousin, has castle tours in London on her bucket list, and I was just thinking, well, you work for an airline and I work for an airline, and why don't we do this? Granted, restrictions with travel aren't you know, gonna let me jump around, and obviously you have to have money to still jump around, even though travel is not going to be as much of an expense. But it's my son's senior year. I do plan on being there for all of his basketball games this year. He is playing rugby. He may, from what I hear from my brothers, he may be going to Portugal with them this summer. I'm not sure. I don't know what that looks like. And hopefully he can earn a scholarship, because this is really, kids are really expensive. So I'm hoping he has a way, you know, and if he doesn't, if that's not the path he wants to take, I hope he's happy with his choice. And I hope he finds joy doing something else. So really being a supportive mom in a way that I haven't been able to, because I've always had work. I've always had, you know, limited funds to travel. I've always had certain challenges. I just feel like at this point in time, even when he is in college, like, hey, meet me for lunch, or let's go to the 49ers game since you love them. You know, I mean, I've got tickets to something that actually brings us together in a very different way. As far as career goes, I'm always a learner. So I'm always looking for, do I want another master's degree? Do I want to, you know, engage in other learning opportunities? Well, right now I can't. Obviously, because I've got so many other big plans, but I do. One of my biggest passions is what we're doing right now with Women Who Succeed, and that is mentorship, is to show young women of color or young children of color, or even just young people that, you know, you can have all the odds stacked up against you in your head, right? Exactly. It's all in your head. How much of the work are you willing to put forth? How much the sacrifice that you can do. I mean, it is so possible. I mean, it's so funny when, you know, we do talks like this. Titles give us this perception to the public or to young kids or young minds, when in actuality there's a whole story. There's a huge story behind it, and there's a huge story behind everyone. And so if I can help inspire young minds, you know, inspire as we aspire, is always something that I've held on to throughout college. I've always had wonderful mentors. So it's been kind of, is that good enough for new beginnings? I feel like I'm gonna hit another new beginning in like 5 years.
And you probably are. I was gonna ask, in between new beginnings, when do you rest and sleep? You're busy, but that's good.
As single moms, do, I mean, can we honestly say we do? So I find time. I've actually learned what self-care means after 2020. And I think, you know, again, things that happen for you push you into the realms of knowing yourself even more, what you can and can't handle. And I know that I like to meditate, which is so different from what I used to do. I'm like, I meditate for, you know, 2 minutes and then I'm good. No, it's, I've been doing a lot of deep breathing exercises up to about 90 minutes, which is extremely helpful when you're trying to go inward. When you're trying to enlighten others, you have to enlighten. And I find that it's extremely important to know yourself, where you're at, your triggers, all the things that you know you're good at, but you happen to do so much self-talk. You know, this is really hard. I don't know if I want to do this again.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Awesome. Awesome. Well, you've heard it first from Bev Uipi, City Council of Millcreek. New beginnings and looking forward to the future. Thank you for joining us today, Bev.
Thank you so much, Gina.
It's been a true blessing just getting to know you and knowing, like you say, you're not the only one in this doing this. So congratulations on being the first and paving the way for other Pacifica Islanders to walk in that footstep, to walk that path. So thank you for your time today, and
Ms. Gina.
See you next time.
Thank you for taking time to hear her. Join our efforts and learn more at womenwhosucceed.org. A big thank you to our sponsor, the Clark and Christine Ivory Foundation.